Chair of Bryant University's Board of Trustees Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Very distinguished. Please welcome Rita as she shares with us her words of wisdom around personal development.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ken. And thank you, everybody. I'm watching the numbers increase as people are logging in and joining our session today. So I'm thrilled to spend some time with you. For you, it's this morning. It's afternoon where I am. I'm in New Jersey. So I'm glad to spend some time with you. Those of you who know me, you know I like to have my workshops to be interactive. Let me start sharing my screen as well. I like for my workshops to be interactive. So please, as was mentioned, put your comments in the chat. Because of the size of the group, that's probably easier than if everybody tried to talk at the same time. So let's just get going. I love this topic, managing your professional development in a virtual world, because it's so different now with all of us on the other side of a computer screen as opposed to most of us physically being in the workplace. Oh, and I do have to give a brief aside. When it was mentioned in my bio that I spent 25 years in the insurance industry, those of you in Central Illinois can relate to the company I used to work for because its headquarters is in this little town called Bloomington, Illinois. So that's where I worked before I decided to venture out to pursue my dreams of entrepreneurship. Some key takeaways. These are things I'd like you to think about throughout our time together. And I'll be asking some questions as related to these as well. So what are some of the challenges that you're facing right now, being in this remote environment? I know a number of organizations have set it up so that it's going to be optional potentially for people to come back to the workplace. Some organizations have said, you know what? Nope, we're not coming back into the workplace at all. So how do you chart your growth? How do you manage moving to the next step if you're not physically in front of people? Think about what would you like to accomplish? Are you looking at staying in your current role and growing within it? Are you looking at having your growth be more externally driven? For example, when I was working at State Farm, I developed relationships outside of State Farm. I always, of course, wanted to grow within the company. However, it was important to have colleagues and associates outside of the organization and be involved in different activities and events outside of the organization. When we get to the part about mentorship, I like you to think about who might be someone who could mentor you. Who is someone you respect or someone who has the skills that you'd like to achieve? We'll talk about setting a clear vision. We've always talked about SMART goals. I'd like to flip the script a bit and talk more about setting clear goals. And then, of course, I'll be interspersing some tools along the way. So if you're ready, I'm ready. This is the guiding question over everything that we're covering this today. How can I ensure I'm more valuable at the end of the year than I was at the beginning? That could be, you could do that on a quarterly basis for your life. You can do that on a long-term basis for your career, your family situation as well. Think about if you were to look a year from now, look back on the progress that you've made, the activities that you've been involved in. Have you increased your value over the current situation? I saw a sign one time that said, a year from now, you will have wished you started today. And I've been living by that. When I feel like I want to procrastinate, I start thinking, when I look back next year, will I be glad that I procrastinated, or will I say, wow, I could have used that time? 3 key activities: learning. How can we increase our knowledge? Who are some people with whom we can connect? And what are some ideas or some projects that we can create that are going to help to increase that value that we offer to ourselves, first and foremost, and to our organizations as well? So first step, I like getting you involved right away. Think about what are some things that you do well? And then what are some things that you like to do better? You know, when I think about doing well, are you great at people say, you know, I want to have him or her come and speak, or you really help take critical information and make it so that people can understand it. I'd like you to type in the chat if you'd like. Think about what are some things that you hear positive feedback, and I'll be looking at the chat as well. And I appreciate the support, Ken and Heather, with you looking at it also. What do you do well? If somebody were to describe you, what would they say? And then as you're thinking about what you do well, what are some things that you'd like to do better? Thank you, Melissa. Having the personal touch, cares about the whole. We're going to talk about big picture thinking. Empathetic. Yeah. Hey, Corona. Wise, customer focused. Excellent. Those are all great attributes to have in the business that we are in. Engaging. Great. Wonderful. Appetite to learn more. Love it. Love it. Yes. Keep this chat going. I love it. And then what would you like to do better? Do you want to do more of what you're already doing? Or do you want to take something that you know you do well and enhance that? What are opportunities for growth? Way back in the day when I used to interview candidates, I never asked them, what are your strengths and weaknesses? I got so sick of that question. I changed it to what are your strengths and what are your opportunities for growth? Because we all have something that we can do better. Confidence in expressing my ideas. Okay, you're giving me some thoughts here. Maybe I can put together some sessions and we can work through that. Being more empathetic. It does take practice to learn how to be empathetic. And I like the fact that you said being more empathetic. Public speaking. Oh, I see a couple of people mention public speaking. Okay, and the CPCU Society, you know, I have to give a plug. This is a great place to practice, to develop those skills, whatever they may be. Confident, in tune. Yes, you never want to be accused of being tone deaf and not hearing others. Spreading knowledge. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all for that. And you can keep typing if you'd like. There'll be more opportunities to jot some thoughts in. I mentioned clear goals. Well, CLEAR, of course, is an acronym, and I'm setting it up to let you know I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, to jot down a goal that meets this acronym, meets this criteria. How crystal clear, so the C is for crystal, can you see your success? Can you visualize it? What is going on here? So when you think of enhancing your skills of public speaking, can you picture yourself in front of a group? It can be a group of 10, it could be a group of 500. What can you envision? Limited, meaning focused, not limited in, oh, just do this little thing, because I believe in thinking big and then taking the big and breaking it down. Making sure it's not too broad. Okay, I want to be a better public speaker. Well, perhaps, how do you measure that, which connects with SMART goals? Where can you test yourself to see how well you are doing? So limited may be, I'd like to speak at a chapter event in September 2021. Emotional, does it make you feel good? Do you enjoy it? This growth that we're talking about, this goal when you become a public speaker, and I'll share later my experience as a TEDx speaker. Doing what I do today really taps into emotion. I get so much energy from all of you as a speaker. Appreciable. What are the learning opportunities in what you're doing? What are some of your teachable moments? What do you want to learn? What do you want as a byproduct of setting this goal? And then refinable, because sometimes we get so caught up in the, I have to set this goal and I've got to stick with this goal. You know, there's this 4-letter word called life that has a way of getting in the way of the goals that we've set for ourselves. So I'd like to give you a couple of moments now to jot some thoughts down, whether you type them on your screen in a Word document or you do it the old school way with a writing implement and a sheet of paper. What do you visualize? How well can you focus on what that goal is? What's the energy? What could you learn from the pursuit of that goal? And then, of course, keeping the flexibility in there. So while you are writing and or typing, I'll share one of mine with you. And for me, I had a goal of conquering a fear. I didn't know if it was the fear of heights, the fear of falling, or the fear of being out of control. Most people who know me say it's the latter. And so I had to make a decision. How am I going to conquer this? And it manifested itself in that whenever I would drive on a bridge, I would never go to the lane that was by the water. I couldn't do it. I would always pull as close to the middle as possible. And so I took a year of my life and I did things to address that fear, including going up a mountain in a gondola. As I think about it, my stomach is still swinging. I have a photo later that I'll share with you of the culmination of that fear or activity. So who would be willing to unmute and share one of their goals? And if you'd like to use the hand raise feature, that's fine too, which means I need to open up the participant list. If you do raise your hand, you'll pop up to the top of the list. Okay, I don't see any hands up, so if you'd like to type into the chat, that's fine as well. The idea is we do need to start with a goal, because if we don't have the goal, we can't set the plan. The plan comes after the goal, not before. Big picture. So someone mentioned thinking broadly. What's your dream? What's your passion? Because we can find our passion within our careers. We can find our passion outside of our careers. In fact, this is a photo that I actually shot in a hot air balloon, looking at the other hot air balloons. That was one of the steps I took to overcome that fear of heights, falling, or being out of control. You're up there at the whims of the wind. But you know what? It was so beautiful up there. We could have conversations with people on the ground. So while we're up there flying, people were coming out of their houses with their cups of coffee, waving and chatting with us. I couldn't believe it. Big picture. When you're looking at yourself within your career, a lot of us, we know our specific day-to-day jobs well. Well, how does our job fit into the overall scheme? What would be the impact of our actions on the organization? If you're in a leadership role, how are you helping your team members to see the big picture? So your professional growth and development also helps your team members, whether you are leading a team or whether you are serving on a team. Face your fears. So this is what I was talking about. This is a shot I said would culminate. This is not a shot that I took, but I got it because I faced a fear. This is the Grand Canyon Skywalk. Don't know if you've been there. If you have, type yes in the chat. The item that's sticking out from the side of the mountain, I see some yeses with exclamation marks. It was awesome. The year that I spent facing that fear culminated speaking at the CPCU conference in Las Vegas. I went out early and went to the skywalk. So you talk about being concerned about heights or falling or being out of control. That That horseshoe, oh, hiked into the canyon. Oh my goodness. That horseshoe extends 70 feet out from the side of a mountain, the mountain. It is 4,120-ish feet above the Colorado River, and the floor of that horseshoe is glass. So imagine you're stepping out and there's glass below you. I mean, the glass was nice and clean too. And you're wondering, am I going to fall through the glass? Am I going to fall over the side? You know what? And thank you, Dar. It was so cool. It was absolutely so cool. And what was nice, down is optional, up is mandatory. Okay, good. Definitely. Yeah. When I stepped out there, all I could think was, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Being in the insurance industry, I did the risk assessment. Don't we have to do that? I watched a video on how this was constructed and how they compensated for the faults in the ground. And then I saw this 5-year-old kid run out there, and I'm thinking, well, if a 5-year-old can do it, what am I afraid of? So think about what might be a fear you have. Some people have a fear of success. Some people have a fear of failure. Some people have a fear of being embarrassed. Those who mention wanting to be a public speaker or enhance their skills at public speaking. What is it about speaking publicly that challenges you? What is it that gets those butterflies in the stomach going? And then deliberately put yourself in the position of facing it. How do you face imposter syndrome? We can have a whole conversation about imposter syndrome. So for those who would like to know a little more, imposter syndrome is a belief that typically high achievers have, that they're not as smart as other people think they are. Been there, done that. I can remember these words coming out of my mouth. I hope they don't figure out that I don't know as much as they think I know. And how did I get to this position? Forget the fact that I worked hard, I studied, I did everything I was supposed to do. When you are suffering from imposter syndrome, you start putting these negative thoughts into your mind. So the first couple of recommendations I would have is when somebody compliments you on something, answer them with 2 basic words. Thank you. Not, oh, that's not true. I wasn't really that good at it. It was everybody else. No, you say thank you and you accept it and you own it and continue to reinforce that. The language that you use in talking to yourself, instead of, I can't do that, change it to, how can I do that? Pat yourself on the back for accomplishments, whether it's getting that project in on time, whether it's coming in at budget or under budget, whether it's, wow, I've been working with this team member and they get it, they've gotten it, or you've mentored someone and you see them achieving some success. Acknowledge the fact that, yes, you are as good as you think you are, because only you can conquer that from within. There is so much that's going on in society that's systemic that can create the environment where we start to doubt ourselves. And so you need that reinforcement. Having a buddy, an accountability buddy, someone whom you trust, who can say, hey, yeah, you've been doing well. I have one of them. Actually, I have about 3 of them who help me to stay on track if I start experiencing, do I think I can do that? Maybe I ought to practice my own advice and give it a try. Uncensor your ambition. I had not heard that phrase. I like that. I like it. There's nothing wrong with being ambitious. Some of us are socialized that we're not supposed to shine. We're not supposed to stand out. We're supposed to make everybody else look good. We can look good in the process as well, which leads to getting a mentor or be one. So at the start, I was challenging you to think of someone whose who has skills whom you admire, or they're at a level of their career that you are aspiring to, and or has skills, or I mentioned that, skills or traits that you find that you respect. That person can be your peer. That person can be senior to you in the organization. That person can be junior to you. I was in a session last week, I think it was, where we were talking about reverse mentoring in the How to CPCU session with Heather and Matt and Victor Foki. We were talking about reverse mentoring, where somebody junior is mentoring somebody who is more seasoned to help share the skills and the knowledge. And that goes beyond technology. It's truly about developing the relationship. And your mentoring relationship does not have to be within your workplace. For example, someone whom I had mentored was working in higher ed, and they were having challenges with their upline and other members of the administration in that organization. And I suggested to the person I was mentoring that she actually join a professional association related to her field and develop a mentoring relationship with someone in that association, because the community in which she worked, that particular higher ed institution, was too small. Anything that anybody said might have gotten out somewhere, but developing that relationship outside of her workplace within her organization was great. And I have to say, for CPCU, have had and still do have mentors within the CPCU society, where yes, I knew the way my company worked. However, I needed to know how other organizations worked within the industry. Mentoring someone, you learn so much as a mentor. And it's not just about, let me talk and tell you everything I've learned over the course of my life. It's that relationship is driven by the person you're mentoring, your protege. This could be a high school student. For example, if you're involved in a nonprofit volunteer organization, such as I am, we have a group of young girls, their ages 12 to 17, and we mentor them so that they can go on for higher education, choose their careers, and then they've got to come back and mentor the next group who's coming up. So think about who might be someone you can either mentor, whether it's inside of your organization or external to your organization, or where might be a place where you can find a mentor inside or outside of your organization. And it's important, as you're thinking about these things, to jot them down, because if we don't commit them to writing, they are not going to happen. With goals, if we don't commit them to writing, and if we don't share them with someone, in other words, we've got to express it, we've got to make it public. Public could be with a colleague, public could be with your accountability partner. If we don't do that, the chances of achieving success are not going to happen. And I want all of you to be successful. Politics. Yeah, and I don't mean the election within the country. I'm talking about politics within our organization. Even as remote employees, it's still important to be politically savvy. You've got to know where the power lies. Who has the decision-making capability to help your career? Because a lot of it, of course, is networking. It's not only what you know, it's also who's going to return your email. Who's going to speak up for you when you're not in the room? Who's willing to mentor and to sponsor you? I went back on the mentoring for a moment. Don't be afraid to ask the person if they would be your mentor, even if it's a mini mentoring session. For example, one of my colleagues was leaving her company, and she needed some guidance and some mentoring from someone within the company before she left, because she was going to leave in a month and this guy was retiring in another week or so. And she sent him an email and said, I would appreciate gaining your perspective and your insights on. And I let her, she filled in the blank for what it was she wanted to learn. People are willing to do that. When you do approach someone about being your mentor, I'll go back to that slide for a moment. Please eliminate the phrase pick your brain from your vocabulary. If you say to someone, I want to pick your brain for, what that implies is you want to take, but you don't want to give. So ask for their insights, ask for their ideas, ask for their perception, perspective, opinion. Please, please, please throw out that phrase, pick your brain. And people like me who are self-employed, what that says to us is you can't afford to pick our brains with what our time costs. So politics, as I mentioned, knowing where the power is. Early in my career, I avoided politics and the organization like crazy. And I was wondering why other people were getting promoted faster than I was. Because I thought, well, if I just put my head down and work hard, they will see that I deserve this promotion. Well, they aren't going to see it unless I self-promote or I have somebody who's going to help me. So that's the why behind the politics. Expanding your network. So we're looking at our own professional growth. We're looking at our own development. One of the ways of doing so is having a broad network. It's great having a network of people within your organization where you're employed. It's great having a network of people in a related industry. We're all part of the CPCU society, so that's a network in and of itself. And within CPCU, there are multiple networks. What I'm suggesting is broadening our horizons, broadening our perspectives out there. Think about, and I'd like you to jot some thoughts down, what other organization, internal or external to the industry, could you be a part of? Could you speak to? I'm a former Girl Scout. So when the Girl Scouts said they needed a speaker, yeah, network helped with that. Being willing to show interest in someone else. There is a book by Keith Ferrazzi called Never Eat Alone. And it's FERRAZZI. I get no commission, so no conflict of interest here. He talks about when you're going to a conference. So our conference, what we're planning for Inter-Risk to be in person. But let's say you're attending a virtual conference. See if you can find out who's registered for that conference, who's not somebody you already know, and extend an invitation to them. I'd like to spend a few minutes and just get to understand you, not like somebody did to me one day. This person said, oh, Rita, tell me about your business. So I'm feeling all excited and I'm proud to explain what personal development solutions is. What do I do? Oh, good, because I was looking to see if there was a way you could help me. I mean, wow, she wasn't interested in me. She was interested in her, what she could get from me. Okay, great, Ashley. Employee resource groups, definitely. And join a group. I recommend joining a group that is outside of your day-to-day field of interest so that you could learn from this other group and other people get to know you as well. So you're not out there by yourself. Sharpen your skills. What pet project might you have that's been sitting on the shelf that you've been thinking about? Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should consider bringing this to my boss. Maybe this is something we could do in our chapter. That's a way of sharpening your skills safely. We have a member in one of our chapters who liked to say, she was moving up within our chapter structure because she wanted to show her boss that she could lead leaders. Another person said, I'm in this organization because I want to learn how to lead. I want to learn how to speak. What are some courses that you could take? There's so many areas on LinkedIn, for example. There's LinkedIn Learning. I get emails from, because I'm on the faculty at William Patterson University, I get emails from LinkedIn through my Willie P. That's our nickname for William Patterson University. And there are so many courses that are available that way. Great way to learn for free. I see Degreed. Okay, great. Yes. Lynda.com, Linda.com has resources. There are open source learning. Coursera, for example, has open source learning. And it can be, again, about something you do every day for work. It could also be about something you just want to learn to do differently. There is an organization, okay, Udemy, great. There is an organization I buy courses from. It's called The Teaching Company. Their website, podcast, definitely. Their website is thegreatcourses.com. Again, no conflict of interest here. I have purchased, I can't begin to tell you how many because I'd have to look at my digital library. And for a while, I listened to some. I always, of course, use their photography course because that's why another reason I hung out on the Grand Canyon skywalks, because I wanted to take good pictures. But during the pandemic, I've done a lot of personal development, things I haven't been able to do before. Some of you know I'm a runner. I get outside every single day. I run 3 times a week, I walk 3 times a week, and I hike on the 7th day, which typically is on a Sunday. While I'm out there running or walking or hiking, I've got my AirPods in and I'm listening to a lecture on the great courses. I got through a course on Dante's Divine Comedy. So all 3 parts of it, not the book itself, the lectures on breaking down Dante's Inferno, Purgatorio, and the comedy and the heavenly. So, wow, I've got all these ideas, things that I didn't study in school. And it helps me in that when I'm speaking, I can refer to some of that content. And as I'm studying some of the other courses, I'm looking at how they connect. So that's one option. And if you choose to purchase a course from the teaching company, it's yours forever. So if you can do an audio download, you can have an instant video download. They make DVDs for those who need something tangible, and they cover a plethora of topical areas. As I mentioned, photography, there's music, there's Zen, Tai Chi, religion. They have a whole category called professional development or personal development. So there are resources out there. And they even have one on public speaking. Libraries, yeah. Oh, thank you for mentioning libraries, Cindy. I'm in a book club, and I was going to mention book clubs later. I am in a virtual book club. We're currently reading Madeleine Albright's current memoir, Hell and Other Destinations. I didn't buy the book. My favorite expression is there's an app for that. I have the Libby app on my phone. It's connected to my library card, and I am reading the ebook. And because I like technology so much, thanks, Nancy. Yeah, I love that app. What I love about it too is whether I'm reading it on my phone or on my laptop or on my Surface Go, it syncs across devices. So no matter which one of those devices I pick up, it says, oh, do you want to stay here where you last opened this book? Or do you want to go to where you left off in the other book, on the other device? Great. Love, 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 love libraries. I spent a lot of time in the library coming up as a shy kid. Can you tell how shy I am? And Julie, yes, we used to use Overdrive at our library and they switched to Libby. And our library is part of a system where there are 17 or 20 other libraries. So I could borrow a book, I could go to my library, reserve the book, and have it delivered from one of the other libraries, which is great. So much information there. Preparing relentlessly. I have an Olympian in there on purpose. We watch them perform. If it's, say, gymnastics, which is my favorite to watch, we watch them perform for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. A lifetime of preparation goes into that performance that they have. As you are looking at the area where you want to grow, and I keep coming back to public speaking, preparing. My preparation is absolutely relentless to make it look so easy. So people say, wow, you just do this. You just talk off your head. You don't know how much research went into getting ready for what I want to say, anticipating what's the craziest thing somebody can ask me. And if you're prepared for that, you don't have to worry about anything else. Then the easy questions come and you're like, oh, that's it? That's all? That's great. So preparation, and that connects with the learning that we were talking about. Practicing your craft. One of the ways of overcoming that fear of doing something new and learning something new, that fear of failure, is to tell yourself, I'm practicing my new skill. So let's say you want to play tennis as part of your personal development, because that does teach you eye-hand coordination with a moving object. When you're going out there, you're talking about, I'm practicing. When you give that first talk, you're practicing your public speaking skills. You don't beat yourself up when you tell yourself you're practicing. Generosity. The one resource we have that is non-renewable is our time. Who can you give back? Who to whom can you give back? Where can you share your time? I've grown just as much in being in nonprofit organizations where I have volunteered as I did in my corporate life. Whether it's the Scouts, Big Brother, Big Sister, maybe you are a member of a fraternity or a sorority that has events going on. Look to see something that you're interested in or something that you want to learn. It doesn't have to be money. Time is more valuable than money because time doesn't come back. Money, we can make more money. Where can you share your knowledge? So we talked about areas that you want to grow and develop in. So somebody mentioned wanting to become more empathetic. Volunteering at an organization for people who are struggling, whether it's, I'm thinking there's an organization near me called the MLK Center. It's an after-school center for children whose parents, definitely, they've got to get to work. And of course, pre-COVID, the kids would come after school and they had activities. Well, there were a lot of people volunteering to help those children. So as you are working with children and learning how they behave and interact and understanding what's going on with them, that's a way of increasing empathy. Working at a shelter. There is a homeless shelter that some of us volunteer at on the 5th Monday of the month. So on months that have 5 Mondays, that's our assigned day. And we go and we help and we support, not just Thanksgiving and Christmas, throughout the year, giving your time. Surrounding yourself with supporters. So I mentioned being a runner. This is what I call my fitness family. Our nickname is actually Fit Fam. And there I am with my camera because I'm the one who's always taking pictures. We ran a 3-mile obstacle challenge. None of us could do that by ourselves, and nobody got left behind. So when it came time to scale that wall, those who were stronger scaled the wall first, and they were there to catch the next ones or to help them up. Most fun part of that whole event was running on a police car and jumping on it and sliding off. And having people who are cheering you on. It doesn't have to be 10 or 12 people as in this group. That could be one or two people. It could be your family members. It could be your colleagues as well. The thing is to have people who are supporting you, because there are enough people out here who are telling us what we can't do. There's enough of us when we talked about imposter syndrome, where we're thinking, well, I can't do that. I don't know if I should do that. Have those people in your life who will say yes. And I love my friend Elsie here pointing to her bicep. Yeah, he got strong in order to do that. Had to carry, some of the people carried cement boulders, some were carrying sandbags, some were carrying other people on part of this obstacle course. But you know what? No matter your skill level, we all did it together. And we are various age ranges as well. So we got that support across the back. Boundless energy, yes. Here's what I will say to that, Julie. Something I've discovered in the past 3 years, because I just started running September of 2017. I went from hating it to being hooked on it. The more energy I use, the more energy I get. I don't know if that's one of Newton's laws, but it's working. And I started running as, quote, a woman of a certain age. And I went from, oh my God, I can't do this. Everything hurts. Why am I doing this? To, oh, I'm going on a trip to Florida. I wonder if there's a 5K. Oh, I'm going to the Baltic. Let me take a running tour of Amsterdam. The more energy I use, the more energy I get. Social media. So many options there. Become a thought leader on Twitter. Twitter forced me to learn how to think in smaller bites. Completing my master's at Walden University taught me how to be even more impassioned about time, because all of our classes were 6 weeks. And if I can cover a graduate course in statistics in 6 weeks, it's like, okay, well, what's taking the rest of the world so long to get things done? But Twitter, 148 characters. I know they've extended it a little bit. Getting your thoughts out there. I don't know if Abby is on this, but I'm going to call out Abby Clow. She moved to Tampa, changed things in her life, and she tweets like crazy. Great information from Abby. YouTube, someone mentioned podcasts. Yes, you can listen to podcasts, or you know what? Be interviewed on a podcast. And once you're out there, you're out there. All people have to do is just search your name in the YouTube search box. Unless you're choosing to be one of those influencers who gets millions of followers. That's a strategy in and of itself. Facebook, of course, there's so many different groups you can join on Facebook. LinkedIn, I can't begin to tell you the power of LinkedIn when it comes to professional development. So yes, I talked already about LinkedIn Learning, where there are courses that you can take there. People follow you, post periodically. After this event, I'm going to be posting thank you to the Central Illinois chapter. Not, guess what? I spoke at the Central Illinois chapter, because it's not about me, it's thanking you. And the side product of that is somebody's going to say, oh, she gave this talk. Maybe we can have her talk, because this is what I do for a living. There's no big company behind me. It's me, Personal Development Solutions. Pinterest. I was just on a call with a client who was taking images from Pinterest to use in a presentation. And I was teaching them how to get permission for some of the articles that they use. And others, but the big ones for business, LinkedIn, of course, Twitter, and YouTube, because we are in a society that is extremely visual. People want to see, they need to see. And when you are doing something other than a podcast on YouTube, you want to keep your videos short, because nobody wants an extremely long one. At the beginning of the pandemic, I made some videos for the state of New Jersey. And I said, please keep them to 2 to 4 minutes. Well, they insisted on 5. Okay. And somebody else went 8, 9 minutes. I stopped watching after about 4. And I know there are people out there who won't go beyond 2 minutes. Think about, jot some thoughts down as to what is a topic you feel comfortable speaking about. And if you don't feel comfortable, you research and then you post what you've learned so that you start developing followers. I had to learn how to do that. When I joined Twitter, I had a friend who kept saying to me, you need to be on Twitter. You need to be on Twitter. I'm like, yeah, I don't have time for that. And then I went to a CPCU conference and they had a Twitter contest. Who could tweet the most? Well, I didn't win, but I sure had a lot to say. You can be on Twitter and subscribe to, also known as following, different organizations. One of my favorite is HBR.org, Harvard Business Review. Great information. And then you get a link to their articles, more information coming into your head. And HBR gives you about 5 free articles a month. It got to the point where I just subscribed because there's so much great information in HBR. And again, following them on Twitter, following them on LinkedIn. People reach out to you. Think of how many people have posted on LinkedIn that they are in a career transition and they would love to have some discussion about opportunities. Great place. People know you're serious when you're posting things like that on LinkedIn, and you can be serious and have fun too. Being a team player. Nobody wants to be around somebody that no one likes. If you're the type of person who is only focused on yourself as opposed to the good of the team. And I talked about the big picture. You need to be focusing on the good for the organization, because the byproduct of that is that people help you. People are willing to help you when there's something you need. They'll be willing to teach you. That's also the part of giving back. I give and give and give, and so much comes back. Karma truly is out there. And when you're giving, give not to get, give to do, give to make that organization better, give to make the team better, give to help others to achieve their goals. Of course, do something you enjoy. Find a hobby, because it's not all work. And that hobby can also lead to development. I mentioned my book club. My undergrad university has a virtual book club, and it's been running, I want to say, for 3 years. And every other month we vote on a book. So we might start a new book every 3 months or so, every 2 to 3 months. And the discussion questions are posted online by the moderator. There's an organization who that's what they do. They moderate the book club. It costs us as individuals nothing but the price of the book if we're going to purchase the book. Some of the books I've read through the Libby app and then went out and bought them because I got so much out of them that I needed to mark the books up. Working with your hands. Some people like to knit. Some people like to play the piano. Some people like to play sports. I am looking forward to the day when I can get on an airplane and go somewhere tropical and not have to worry. I was looking at a website for one of my favorite islands, and this big COVID warning banner popped up. Okay, I can read travel blogs. I can follow travelers on Instagram. I can sort through my pictures and post them as well. Celebrate your success. So when you've achieved that goal, celebrate it. I am going to be celebrating this TEDx talk for the longest, because that was a goal I set for myself, and it was a clear goal. Here's the story I want to talk about. Here's how it's going to help others. Here are steps that they can take. I just need to get my application in and get it approved and get on that stage. And I truly visualized myself on that stage giving that talk. Celebrate what you've accomplished. My challenge to you is, I'd like to hear from some of you now. What's your next step? What are you going to do as a result of some of the ideas that we've discussed today? Who is going to be your cheerleader, your supporter? What is one thing that you're going to do? And please feel free to type it in the chat or raise your hand so I can call on you, or Heather can call on you, either of us. Well, I'd love to hear what you're going to do to enhance your professional growth starting today. Toastmasters, great. Absolutely. Absolutely. My trainer at my gym joined Toastmasters, and I watched him grow. He would talk lots of ums, lots of he went from that to, okay, here's what I'm going to talk about. Confidence through the roof. And he's great. Write a keynote speech and practice it with Toastmasters. Excellent. Absolutely excellent idea. Because that's such a safe place to enhance your skills. Great. And I know I need to leave time for the chapter to close. So what I will say is, thank you very much. Stop procrastinating. Yes. Yeah, when you say, I'll stop procrastinating tomorrow. No, stop procrastinating today. Organized. Yes. I knew I needed to get organized when I was in an airport and I bought this book by Julie Morgenstern, who's an organization guru. And I read the book and I'm reading it saying, man, this sounds familiar. You know why? I had a copy of the book home already. That was my aha moment, that you need to get your stuff together. And I made conscious effort, and I'm proud of my organizational skills. So with that, I will turn it back over to the chapter. Thank you all very much for being here today. I appreciate sharing the time. Oh, and this is a website, Professional Development Virtually. I will put this in the chat. They give you some very good ideas. Whoops. They give you some very good ideas on things that you can do as well. So Ken, it's back to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Rita. We enjoyed your presentation. I saw several comments in there about inspiring. I was inspired today. Thank you for all your resources, and also thank you to the participants. I saw a lot of great resources dropped into the chat as well. Some things I'll be checking out. But you know, you made me start thinking a little bit about working remotely. We've been doing it over a year now, and it's really easy to forget about our own development as an individual. So you're really going to kickstart my work in this area. You know, a couple of you mentioned it. Don't procrastinate. That's number one at the top of my list. Need to complete a self-assessment. And I like your twist on goal setting, the clear goals. So I'm going to pull out my goals and kind of reformat those and really give it some thought. So thank you very much. I want to let everybody know this meeting was recorded today, so it will be available to go back and take another look if you'd like to do that. So please do. Also wanted to thank Michelle Rushing and her programs committee for working with Rita today and making this possible. And then just share a couple quick chapter announcements with you before we depart here. We continue to encourage those who have not renewed their 2021 society and chapter membership to work with your organizations to get that taken care of. And you can go into your renewal invoice within the My Account section on the Institute's website. So please do that, and please reach out if you need any assistance with that. We can help you. And a couple great education and community works events are still coming up here in short order. Next week is the Spring Symposium, and that's changed up a little bit this year due to our different way of presenting, and it's going to take place on April 12th, 14th, and 16th in small 2.5-hour pieces. A lot of flexibility built into that, but definitely go to our Central Illinois CPCU website and view the calendar if you want to see those details and register yourself. Would love to see you there. On Saturday, April 24th, our Good Works Committee is seeking volunteers for Adopt a Highway. So if you haven't done that before, that's a great opportunity to get a group together or come out individually, meet some new folks, and help improve our community. So take a look at the chapter website for that as well. And speaking of volunteers, you know our chapter is constantly looking for volunteers. You recently saw our volunteer interest survey. Please share your interest and we'll reach out and match you up with an opportunity. This goes right along with what we we're talking about today, development, a lot of great development opportunities within our chapter. And then finally, our next lunch meeting will be on May 6th. So in just about 1 month. Those details will be coming out shortly, so keep an eye on your email for that. So one last time, thank you all for your time today. Have a great rest of the week and hope to see you at one of our upcoming events. Thank you again, Rita.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone.